Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Beastmen campaign where we are playing as the famine fiend Molokh Slugtongue. Last episode we brought ruination to the province of Ostland, burning down all of their settlements, although unfortunately we weren't able to get the final blow in, as a Norscan army was able to finish off the last defenders. But, as a result of burning down Ostland, we were able to get our hands on quite a few marks of ruination, allowing us now to recruit a new army, which is where you guys can come in. I'm going to start a second army. I would like if you check out the link down in the comments section where you can find a form. What I'm looking for is mainly unit names, because at the end of the day I'm only going to have another army, so it's only the two. But if you want to submit any character names for lords or heroes, do so as well. I'll put the options in, and then whichever catches my fancy the most, I will use for a new army next episode. As well as the names for units, I want to start filling up these guys and giving them unique names, so if you want to give any one of these a name and a backstory, feel free to do so as well. But today, we're going to continue our, decimation of Kislev, which originally I was going to start with Zoishenk, but I want to actually pull away for the moment before we attack. Not because of for not worrying about the fight in the army, but because, if you remember, Zoishenk, as well as I believe Fort Ostrosk and that, are already part of our blood grounds that we established here in Erected. Now we have completed the ritual, which means that, if I click on it a second, but completing the ritual, it makes all of this area turn into the blood grounds, right? But we've got the marks of ruination for down south, but we haven't got these ones. Now, I don't know. Does it mean if we attack Zoishenk, for example, and burn it down, if we can actually get those marks of ruination added, or do we have to enact another Herdstone before we can start getting them? I'm just thinking because these are already part of our blood grounds, so does it give us those extra marks or not? I suppose we're going to have to find out. So let's go back and attack Oh. Okay, never mind then. We'll attack them in the following turn. How much points do we have? Not enough, actually. You know what? We need to start increasing the amount of money we get from raiding, so let's just do that for the moment. We'll attack Zoishenk then in the following turn, see if it does give us any extra marks. If it does, great, we'll continue going after Stragov and Ostrosk. But if it doesn't, we'll have to set up another, Herdstone somewhere before we actually start burning places down. So, let's just skip ahead this turn then, and we'll see what happens. Well, what does Fog want? He wants me to pay him for non-aggression pact. Well, you know what? Since, the Norscans aren't exactly allies of ours, but we follow the same gods. And you can see that favour in the effect that we have with our plague mechanic, which doesn't affect Norscans. So, for Fog and his pack of Norscans, sure, but I'm not going to pay him. In fact, with that high likelihood, they can pay me. Oh, might not be able to get much. I'll tell you what, now go for military access. There we go. This means now we can march in their territory without having to worry about diplomatic penalties. And since we don't actually own really anything, in terms of territory, maybe Erected, because it's still got our Herdstone there. Oh. Okay then. That works out quite nicely now. We'll be able to attack Zoishenk. And we'll be able to have a look then to see if it actually works or not. Once we get through the rest of the factions. It's going to be near our turn now anyway, so I might as well just keep talking. Now, when I was loading the game up, I couldn't help but notice this game now is about 4, nearly 5 years old. It came out in 2017, according to the credits at the beginning. So, yeah, that's about 4 years old now. And, it's nowhere near as old as Skyrim. If you guys didn't know yet, Skyrim has got another re-release coming out, I think it's November, sometime later this year anyway. And it's supposed to be given some new mechanics, like they're going to add survival mode and fishing and stuff like that, as well as give you access, I believe, to a lot of the Creation Club content. But if it's one of two games which can last with multiple releases, That's going to be Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto 5. I remember buying the original Skyrim on the Xbox 360 back in the day. And yeah, that was when it first came out. 11 years ago, wow. Hasn't time flown. Anyway, let's attack Zoishenk and have a look and see. So how many marks do we have at the moment? No idea. Oh, there we go, 34. So if we attack this, this may give us 6. So let's attack. Pretty easy victory. And 742, let's get that. Okay, we got a Regiment of Renown, Destroyers of the Dark Ward. The limbless Ungors of the Herd originating from one of the most ancient woods of the old world. So, the Drake Ward, if you remember, is the forest around here, essentially. But, yeah, skip through all of that. Picked up a few items in that, at least. But, let's check our marks now. No, doesn't count for anything. Crap. Okay then. What we're doing then is pick a territory for us to be able to mark down as new blood grounds. The most tempting one to go for is actually Fort Ostrusk, because it's nearby, and it will allow us to take Fort Stragov as well. The problem is, because it still counts as part of the territory of Erected, and as we saw when we attacked Zoishenk, we weren't able to actually enact a Herdstone. So, to be honest, we might have to make our way over towards Prague, I would think. Yeah, if we go for Prague, that would give us access then to Volksgrad, Prague, Kislev itself. I don't know about necessarily going after Helpit, but it might give us the opportunity to go after at least Fort Ostrusk. I think that would be our best bet, in all honesty. So what I'll do, let's just let you guys rest up for the moment in your encampment. We're now level 10, so we can actually start working on Slugtongue's unique skills. So we've got Repugnant Stalker, increasing our chances of plague and giving us Vanguard deployment for him. But these are the ones I'm more interested in. So, Ravenous Maggots, increasing his Curse of the Famine Fiend ability, and allowing him to cause terror? Sure. Let's see. We'll grab this one as well, because having the Viletide spell as both an army ability and a much cheaper spell, can't say no to that. And I will take Followers of Slugtongue for our Gore Herds. They will now have regeneration, armor, and poison attacks. So quite happily take that. We'll start looking into the rest of these for his next level up. Okay, Fardance. We could give you a Tuskor, but we're waiting for the Razor Gore, weren't we? Okay. Bloodlust for 25% armor piercing. Or we can just focus on giving you Deadly Blades. Nah, we'll give you Bloodlust for now. Then Skalak Stonehearts. Let's give you Deadly Blade. And let's just double check our magical items. We have picked up a couple now. So who's got this? Fardance got the Sword of Swift Slayer, right. I'm quite happy to let the Slugtongue keep the Talisman of Protection. Potion of Full Hardiness. Extra 40% charge bonus and Unbreakable? Sure, you can have that. And let's have a look. You can have a Herdstone Keeper, sure. Then let's have a look for Dance. Anything unique to you? No. What about you? No. Okay then. Oh, actually. Checked the wrong guy, didn't I? No, that's all fine. Okay. So what I'm going to do is skip forward a couple of turns in order to get into position to attack Prague. I mean, I could, I suppose, actually go and get Kislev. That would count for those two, as well as allow me to start attacking Bekaven and that. Yeah, I think Kislev will be a much fitting target for us. Although Prague historically was the main target of Chaos invasions in the past. In fact, it's because... oh god, what's the guy's name? Hang on, I'll click this. I can remember the name. You guys know at this point I'm terrible with names. But Prague was actually the sort of main target for a Chaos invasion of the end times, essentially, from the guy that came before Archon, essentially. He had it was back when Magnus the Pious ended up taking control and becoming Emperor of Kislev, and many actual things happened in the Empire because of that. We had things then like, let's not bother. The colleges of magic were actually established by Teclis, who was working with the humans, and realizing that their potential for magic and how magic's ability to help defend the lands against chaos would have come in handy, so he decided to teach him. Although knowing that they wouldn't have the magical potential of the High Elves, he only taught them to establish or follow one school of magic for each person. Hence why there's 8 different schools and why magic users don't typically have access to different colleges. But yeah, things like that happened. But Prague had a lot of crazy things happen, like people get melted into the walls and stuff like that before it was basically decontaminated. But still, it's not a nice place to be. And it was actually the center of many a fight, actually, in the Go Track the Slayer books back in the day. Anyway, let's have a look. I suppose we could actually try and search Zoishenk, see if we can get our hands on anything. But I'd rather just make our way over. I mean, we could go after Fort Ostrosk, but we'll have to start building stuff, won't we? You know what? It's fine. What I'll actually do, let's start doing some raiding. Again, we need to increase the amount of money we get, or favour. How much do we actually need again? 20,000 if we're going for a long campaign victory, or 10,000 for a short. So again, 400 is going to help us out a bit there. I mean, we could also see about building something. Getting a den, perhaps, would be quite nice. But I do want to save up a bit, bearing in mind we're going to have a second army joining us at some point. So, well, at the end of this episode, for definite. So, yeah, we'll leave things there for now. But yeah, I'll head over then to Kislev, and I shall see you guys shortly. Well then, looks like we got a fight on our hands. Now on the plus side, I've now made my way to Kislev and will be able to attack it in the next turn. However, we've got an attack on our Herdstone at Erected. Now the enemy do outnumber us, but hopefully we'll be okay. They haven't got exactly powerful units, but still, there's a lot of them. So, we're going to fight this, and let's see what we can do. So here we are on the battlefield, and before I speed up the gameplay, I just want to take a moment to say that I was quite disappointed when I fought on this battlefield, that there was nothing particularly special about it to mark it as a site of a ritual ruin, or even somewhere where we've erected a Herdstone. I mean, you look around, there's nothing particularly wow-wee about it. It just looks like a typical battlefield. The only thing I was able to spot was this bit here. I have this little site, which, I have to be honest, it's not exactly wow-wee, is it? So yeah, I think it was a missed opportunity to try and make a special map for this area, especially since you get similar ones when you're fighting in areas with the undead and that, so why not a unique one for when you attack somebody at their ritual site? But anyway, we're not here to criticize that, we're here to defend the grounds against this Kislev force invasion. I was trying to say force and invasion at the same time. But anyway, the problem we had when we were about to fight this battle is that we are outnumbered massively. If I put a hover over the balance bar here, you can see that we're outnumbered by almost 1,000 troops. So there was no way I was actually going to be able to win by outfighting the enemy, and we do not have any missile advantage. The enemy, on the other hand, do. But we do have two things in our favour. Firstly, speed. Between my Harpies, my Centaurs and that, we're able to move across the battlefield extremely quickly. Secondly is that we do have some fear-causing units, thanks to my Manticores. Now, I'm not too sure whether or not the Harpies and that have ability to cause fear, but the Manticores do, which will be quite useful in breaking the enemy's morale. So, with that said, let's speed things up, where, as you can see, I put most of my infantry here in the small little bit of forest we had, The reason why I put them here is because I wanted to try and let the enemy get broken up a bit by my troops being scattered all around the place, taking advantage of the vanguard deployment. So we can break them up a bit before we actually charge in and try and go after them with some advantage. Now, in the background you can see I've got harpies coming in from the corners. I had my centaurs run around the left flank just to try and split up some of the enemy forces. My manticores have now charged in. And I would say one-on-one against the enemy, we are able to do just fine. It's just the issue I was going to be dealing with a lot is actually the enemy commanders. You can see one of them, for example, running off into here. Now, luckily for me, though, he is just one man, and, well, the second man with the enemy army coming in as reinforcements. So, as long as we were able to outmaneuver them, things were going to go relatively okay. Now, speaking of outmaneuvering, you can see initially my harpies are just flying across the battlefield, chasing down enemy missile units, since that is their best target. These guys are getting peppered a little bit thanks to the pistoliers. I originally tried getting them to go after them, but realised these guys got 90 speed, and these guys have only got 87. So the harpies instead are going to focus on the Free Company militia here. Over here, same thing with the crossbowmen. And my manticores are just going to town against these units here. It's not going to be too well in their favour because they are quite outnumbered and the enemy do have some halberdiers, which are anti-large and armour piercing. But they managed to hold off quite a few of those units, which means that over this side, we're able to start breaking up the enemy forces quite a bit. Between the harpies charging in for rear charges as well as my centaurs coming in, we're able to actually do a fair bit of morale damage. And I'm occasionally casting spells like Vile Tide and the Devolved spell using my Bray Shaman, or Bray Shaman even, in order to try and reduce the effectiveness of the enemy force, such as their commander right here. Now over here I've got my own Gors actually trying to hold off the enemy invasion a bit and provide a bit of a distraction. Not that concerned if these guys die, in fact you can see they're expendable, so really not that bothered, and they're quickly going to start running away. Thanks to the low leadership and the fact they're getting targeted by the enemy's missile forces. But that allows me though to focus on everything else instead. So while we are getting some slight issues with units retreating, excuse me, I didn't want to do that, I wanted to do this a minute. You can see elsewhere, the fight's actually going relatively okay. We've broken up some of their missile units, their melee units, thanks to taking advantage of our maneuverability and our fear-causing units. A rear charge, for example, by the manticores is enough to get their swordsman unit to retreat. And I'm basically just trying to go after individual units as much as I can, causing them to shatter, even if it means having to chase them down temporarily. But luckily for me, my harpies are not too effective when it comes to fighting in combat, but they are very good at harassing enemy units that are retreating. So I can send a unit of harpies after this unit of swordsmen, for example, and then focus on going on with my manticores and that towards other units. Now, needless to say, it's still not going to be ideal, just because the enemy do outnumber us in terms of units. And when we've got issues like my manticore running away over here, for example, although it did come back, luckily enough, it does mean that we are spending a bit of time just trying to chase down enemy units, so make sure that even if they come back, that we can deal with them, as well as trying to hold the enemy in place as much as possible. Now we're about to enact another Vile Tide, like wham, right in the middle of these two units. Does a ton of damage. In fact, 38 kills so far by my Shaman. Not too bad, although he's trying to run away from this general at the moment. Now the Harpies are harassing the units here. I'm trying to hold these units in place, while we try and deal with the remaining enemy units on my left flank. The Pistoliers are causing a bit of annoyance because we haven't got anything that can chase them down right now. But I am trying my best to go after the enemy units scattered around, as you can see. They do have a general on horseback, which is a lot more maneuverable than their infantry commander. So again, it's trying to keep my troops so they're not getting too caught up, as well as let my Centaurs do some damage without getting pinned in place. Now, thanks to the issues that the game has with cavalry, thanks to them trying to fix the charge issues before, the cavalry are not too good when it comes to doing charges and trying to do cycle charges, so I am trying my best to use these guys to attack units that will shatter in the charge. Now, speaking of shattering, we already got the centre clearing up quite nicely. The spearmen are about to shatter. Manticore coming in as well, although there is a general fighting away. Trying to keep him busy, but while he's trying to go after those, we can focus on everybody else. Over on this side, we're clearing up the enemy's units quite nicely. Thanks to pinning them in place, using my heartbeats and chasing them down with some more units, we're able to do enough to get them to retreat, which is what I'm after. And then, like I've said, chase them down, cause them to shatter. So luckily we already got some Free Company militia going away. These guys are starting to skirmish away, not fast enough to get away from my harpies. And yeah, the right flank is looking quite nice. So is our left flank, in fact. As you can see, a lot of the enemy units are retreating is, like I said, just a case of trying to get them to shatter. And make sure my units don't spend too much time chasing them away. Now, all that's really left at this point is this big clump of enemies right here. I'm trying to hold them in place, especially as they do have their generals coming in to fight. So I'm trying to pin them in place as best as I can using expendable units like my Ungors, which aren't the best units, but while I'm focusing on going after their other units with my Gors, like over here, it's doing a fair enough job, and that's all I can really ask of them. Now we do have my Ungor herds actually running away at this point. It's unavoidable, but it's actually causing these swordsmen to run away, or chase after them, splitting up their surviving units a bit more, which is all good. If I hover over the band spot, you can see that there's a lot of dead bodies on the ground. If the graphics wasn't enough, looking at this, Jesus Christ, look at that. But, as I said, halfway over, we do outnumber the enemy 2-1 at this point, and with all these enemies retreating, it is just trying my best to cause them to shatter. Luckily, many of them are. Some of them are still hanging on in there and then coming back a little later. But realizing this is something we need to focus on, I end up doing just that. Now, this general on horseback tries chasing after my shaman, but I was able to get him caught up with my Ungor raiders. Again, don't plan to do much with them. My focus at this point of the battle was actually just to hold the generals in place long enough for me to cause the rest of the army to shatter. So these guys will then shatter given the army casualties. It is taking some time. You can see now the enemy's just got 24 units left, but they're still holding the job there. And I believe, looking at this, it was really just a case of trying to go after the enemy swordsman right here, and there was a unit over here for the pistoliers. Still haven't shattered yet, despite only having 5 out of 60, but they're running fast enough that with the harpies chasing after them, they're going to run off the battlefield soon enough. So, very quickly then, it's just going to leave, well, these two guys. This one's trying to chase after my shaman, running away. Luckily, I managed to pin him in place using my harpies. I've got my raiders just firing into this guy here, and over this side, you can see that the enemy general has started to break, shatter, and just like that, the enemy's finished off once and for all. Now, I could have ended the battle here, but I wanted to try and chase down the commanders. Looking at the amount of casualties I've inflicted across the other units, like over here for example, you can see that while there is the odd unit, like this guy here, 22 units, everyone else has got 1, maybe 2, something like that. So, as we go back to the campaign map, you'll see exactly how many units we managed to finish off. But, the battle is mine, albeit with a lot of casualties. So let's go back to the campaign map and decide what to do with the captives. Well, I tell you guys, that was one hell of a fight I just fought. But we managed to win. And not only that, but looking at the enemy armies, we managed to wipe out practically their entire force. So, not going to complain in the slightest. What do we want to do though? We can sacrifice the captives, reducing our rage by gaining some extra favour, or get some replenishment. I don't think they're going to be coming back at us anytime soon, so I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice them. Get a bit of extra favour. They may try and attack us again, because it looks like, yeah, unfortunately, they had at least 1 unit in each army, so it meant that they will be able to get a new commander leading it. I thought I inflicted enough casualties to actually kill them off completely, but no matter. They've got a long way to go before they can try and get reinforced anyway. So, but yeah, like I said before the battle, you can see I'm within marching range now of Kislev, and is actually suffering from plague at the moment, courtesy of Slugtongue. So, when it now comes to my turn, any second... Thank you. Enemy killed... Oh, was that the only enemy killed? I could have swore I killed 2 commanders in that fight.
I'll ignore that. I will not
Yeah,
obey.
there's a... Mikhail, veteran of Prague. Who are you? Huh. Okay then, sure. Anyway, let's head over here and attack Kislev. Got plenty of population surplus, so we'll definitely have it within us to be able to get a new army soon. Oh my god. Pivik victory? You're kidding me. Okay. Well, you know what? We have 12 labour. So, let's go ahead. Get a bunch of siege equipment. I can afford to wait a turn to build them up, and then we'll go and attack them. Let's go ahead and level up characters. Galak, let's give you another point in Deadly Blades. And yeah, we've got 10,000 favour now. That's definitely going to be a good start for a next army. In fact, let me just double check our upgrades. Damn, we need 750 if I want the new Horde armies to be raised with a level 2 Horde encampment. But we could have tried to get this. 375, we're not too far away from that, in fact. Or do I save it for access to at least 1 or 2 heroes for my second army? Okay then. Ooh, chaos stirs. Storm clouds gather in the north. There are rumours of the barbarous tribes residing in the shadow of chaos have ceased striving against each other for the intention of the dark gods, and instead banding together. Suckling at the teat of chaos, the hordes grow in strength. It seems only a matter of time before the dam breaks and a tide of ruin bursts forth to engulf the old world, corrupting or destroying all in its path. I dunno. That sounds like me, to be honest. But I'll skip through that. Winds of Pain, what does that give me? Extra starting magic for all factions. Okay, I'll quite happily take that. But now that we've got our siege equipment, let's lay siege to Kislev. And now it's offering me a close victory. Now if I did auto-resolve this, it won't actually cost me any troops. And we are 10 minutes, well, about 5 minutes away from actually ending the episode. Now, you know what? We haven't fought a proper siege battle with siege towers and everything, so let's give us a lightning strike for the morale debuff. And let's fight the battle. So here we are outside the gates of Kislev with Molokh Slugtongue leading the charge. Now I must say, these siege towers for the Beastmen look really cool, although I do wonder where they got their hands on these big skulls. Must have to get a lot of them in stock if you're going to have a lot of siege towers, you know? Anyway, I've decided to try and split up the enemy garrison a bit, despite the fact that they are quite heavily injured, by sending my siege towers and the battering ram on this side of the map as the main assault. But over this side I've got my Chaos Warhounds and my Cygor, just keeping the enemy distracted with a couple of units on the walls. They're not going to do anything to them, he's not going to be able to do anything to them, it's just keeping them busy really. And likewise, I brought up my own Gore Raiders, hoping for them to actually attack these guys, but never ended up doing so, they just sort of stood there instead. Never mind, one of those things. Now, looking at the health of my towers, I didn't notice during the battle, but they actually took a fair bit of damage. I mean, 46% there, 50% there. These guys look like they managed to do a bit better, 23 and 18, yeah. But despite the defenders' best efforts, it wasn't enough to hold the the horde back, and we've managed to make our way onto the walls. Now, I don't think I've showed it off yet. Can I see it here? Oh no. But you'll notice that the Outriders here and the Mortars are have lost a lot of their ammunition, despite the fact they've just stood back here and haven't really fired. I mean, the Mortars have taken 1 or 2 shots, but not that many. The reason for this is because of one of our abilities, Vile Entropy, I believe it's called. And what it does, in fact, I might be able to see if I hover over. Oh no, it's Soul Eater. Never mind. But it's an ability you can use twice per battle, and it's an army ability. And what it does, it reduces enemy accuracy, as well as removes a lot of the ammunition. I don't think it wipes it out completely, because I used it again later on in the battle on the same 2 units, and their ammunition remained the same as it was beforehand. But it does provide a nice bonus when you're considering what we have got at our disposal. Anyway, if I speed things up a little bit, you can see that we're taking the walls quite easily. Despite the fact the enemy have got great swords at their disposal, they're only at half strength, and because we've got the towers to help us get on the walls, we're not going to be tired compared to if we try to climb up. But even then, we do have units like our Wargore here, as well as Molokh over here, just to do a bit of extra damage when needed, especially with Moloch's spells. Now down on the ground, my Gore Herd pushing the Banning Ram has taken quite a few casualties. They're roughly now at 83%. But if you look at the health bar, you can see they are regenerating their health thanks to their upgrades with Molokh. So in fact, if I just hover over here a second, I wonder if we'll be able to spot it. Yeah, regeneration. 4 hit points per second. Thanks to Primal Fury, Swarm of Flies. Oh no, it's not just like a general ability. Fair enough. They do have poison attacks, as you can see. They do have the regeneration. So yeah, very useful indeed. Now, the Battling Ram itself managed to get through quite easily. I've decided to send my Gorbal, Skalak Stoneheart, just to slaughter his way through the greatswords trying to hold the gates. The Outriders come charging in to try and help, but well, it's not looking too good for them either, is it? Just look at the gore of blood. Wow. He's really going to town. Now the mortar's still firing, it's getting a couple of hits here and there, but it hasn't actually done that much damage. And with my guys regenerating their health, it's not like it's going to be likely to happen either. But with us now captured the walls on this side, the enemy are bringing in their Outriders to try and hold us. But we're able to charge in easily enough with the Beastigors, deal with them. They still have 2 more units back here, as well as the units up on the walls here. But as we get closer and more troops are getting up on the walls, I'm sending in my forces to deal with them. So in fact, if we hover down here a second, you can see this unit of swordsmen originally came from that side, but they've already started to retreat. Their greatswords started to retreat as well, and yeah, we've dealt with them easily enough. We've just got these 2 left. Back in the courtyard now at this point, we've got, well, just in time for Stoneheart to dive right in. He managed to knock down 1 horse, but it wasn't that inspiring, you know? It's enough though that they're trying to run away. He's chasing after them. I've got the Soul Render now going after these guys. Well, I thought he was. He's ended up just running past them instead. Never mind. They've now started to waver. Banspar shows they've now shattered at this point, and the city belongs to me. We can enact our Herdstone now in homage to the Dark Gods and start working on our new blood grounds. But let's go back to the campaign map and make that decision. So there we have it. Decisive victory, as expected, very few casualties. And I'm starting to notice how effective regeneration seems to be for my Gore Herds. As you can see, barely took any losses in that fight from them. Most of it did come from this one unit though, that was the unit pushing the Battling Ram, so it did take the brunt of enemy tower fire. But on the whole, I'm pretty happy with the result. So, let's go ahead now and raise our Herdstone. Forbidden Rods. Remind me what that does. Causes damage to self but does greatly improve power recharge rates. I think I'm okay for now. But we've now finished off Kislev. Let me go ahead and just double check what counts now as part of our blood grounds. So we got Fort Yakova, however you want to pronounce it, Nagenhof, Bakoven, Zavestra. Oh, that's been colonized by the Lords of Drakenhof. Wait. Huh? How does that work? Because don't forget, right? I've done the ritual reenact of ruination, right? And by doing the ritual, it prevents all ruins within the Bloodground territory from being colonized. So how can the undead be recolonizing these areas when my hold, this still stands? Any ideas, guys? Maybe it's a mod conflict, but I haven't got any mods which would affect that. I have no idea. No idea at all. But if it means we have to go back then and burn them, I suppose we will have to. But we'll probably head up here first, go after Kislev, finish it off, and then we'll start going after oh god, what's this place called? Ostermark. Thank you, game. Oh my god, what the hell? Oh, of course. I was wondering for a second, what's this big purple thing? It's the Walkgrove of Woe, Dryker's faction. Right. Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, let's go to Kislev a second. We can upgrade and get a settlement built in, so let's have a look. Casualty replenishment could come in handy, I guess. Working pits for extra towers. Don't really feel that's needed, though. Skip game, thank you. Winds of Malady. Extra plague chance increasing. Vigor in battle winded. Ooh, that does sound useful. Or do you want to go for the shamanic challenges in order to get line of sight again? The line of sight I find really useful for knowing where enemies are, and while we're going to be able to recruit a second army now, which I will do at the beginning of the next episode once I get your submissions, it would be nice to be able to see where everyone is. But yeah, if anyone happens to know how the undead can recolonize this area when they shouldn't be able to, then let me know. That will be greatly appreciated. For now, though, let's see about resting up. Can't you rest up just yet? Do I want to go for Squalid Encampment? It will cost me 7,000. You know what? Sure. We'll do that. That will allow me then to unlock either Impaled Corpses, get in Extra Dread, and Cacophonous Assault. When attacking, applies temporary penalties to the enemy's leadership and melee defense at the start of the battle. Mounted Blades for Touched by the Moon ability. Vile Entropy, which is something we already have access to. Shaman's Pyre. Shatterstone ability during siege battles. I definitely want to try and aim for these. We're obviously going to go for the Khan of Decay for Slugtongue, but for the other armies, maybe we can go for each of these as well. That could be something as well if you want to theme a character based on that. Pelt Totems, Pits of Horrors, Fire Pit for Minotaurs, so that would be nice. Or even go for Giants. Canals on a Gorgon. Haven't been able to use one of those yet. Anyway, let's go ahead, quickly level these up, and then we'll end the episode. So many-limbed fiends. Oh, hang on. We can go for one of these. Forerunner gives Fodont Vanguard deployments. For him, Beastigores and Encourage. Alpha Beast causes fear. For Harpies, Chaos Warhounds, not so useful. Breakneck Charioteers. Razorgore Chariots will cause terror, and will allow him to cause terror when he's on a mount. Or Instrument of Chaos gives me extra 5% replenishment. While the replenishment, of course, would be quite useful, I kind of like the idea of going for one of these. Oof. I kind of picture Slugtongue's army being fairly slow-paced. So, definitely thinking maybe go for one of those. Probably this one, Forerunner. That way then we can get our hands on Beastigores and buff them up with Vanguard deployment, like with the rest of the army, as well as to be able to encourage nearby units. So, yeah, let's grab that one, I think. And then Slugtongue. Could go for Whispers of Death, leaving the Black Harvest effect, whatever that is. Yeah, let's grab that. And then we'll be able to go for Lord of the Black Harvest after. And then that's it. Let's see if anything happens during the end turn phase. Otherwise, we'll finish things here for today. So, very uneventful for the end turn phase, but we did complete another challenge, Rain in Blood. Not that it does a lot, but it does provide a few bonuses for our Ungor Raiders, so I'll take it. Builder as well. Mission issued. Defeat an army That's an enemy of the Jagged Horn tribe. None of these really catch my interest, so we'll leave it. Skip through the rest of that, and end things here for today. So, next episode, we'll start up the new army. We'll attack and then head up north, go after Volksgrad, Prague, Fort Ostrowsk, and basically deal with Kislev. And then we'll probably end up going to war against the undead. It's the only... well, I don't want them colonizing. And if we're going to be over here anyway, we might as well push down south into the undead territories. So, yeah, that will probably be our plan. But for now though, guys, thank you for watching today's episode. Hope you enjoyed, and you do join me next time, of course, for some more Warhammer. But until then, everybody, take care, stay safe, and goodbye for now.